Okay, we're continuing with quotes in alphabetical order. This is Anthony Storr, psychiatrist. He said, I get intrigued by a puzzle and writing a book is the best way to solve it. If you really are interested in something, it's a good idea to write a book about it, but you have to be really absorbed in it and go deep into it. And like Goethe had said, in order for a man to learn a complex subject, he must love it. And of course, it depends on the complexity of the subject and how much you know about it already, that you've got the ability to write a good book. I don't write a book about something unless I think I'm the best in the world on the subject. And even if you're not the official expert, one of the things you're going to see, very often the official experts are kind of bogus. All they care about is their professional standing and making money in their profession. They don't really care about the truth. And that's why most of the best books are written by amateurs. But you have to figure out for yourself where you're at on that scale, And usually as you get older, you just know more and you're more prepared to write a book. Okay. And that idea of writing a book whenever you want to understand something or solve it, that's been around for a long time. Smart people have known that a long time, like John Ruskin, the great art critic from the Victorian Renaissance in England. Okay, Anthony Storr, imagination flourishes best in solitude. Yeah, if you're ever going to become good at anything intellectually, you have to spend a lot of time alone just reading and thinking, and you're even going to talk to yourself a little bit. Talking to yourself is useful. I've had that experience when I talk with medical students. And the medical students are often kind of sad and lonely, and they sort of are whining and complaining, oh, I don't have a real life. And I'm like, look, you get to study. Most people have been forced to work or forced to go out on the front line in their youth. They never had a choice. They never had a chance to get educated. Consider yourself lucky and think about the positive, because if you build yourself up, then you become stronger and you can do more. But if you whine, complain, and be all negative, you become weaker. And if you want to be strong, then you got to build yourself up. So make up your mind what you want to do. And then pay attention to your thoughts. A lot of times, your REM sleep, which is in the second half of the night, early morning, a lot of times it pops the good idea into your brain. Right when you wake up, right when you're about to wake up, or right when you're taking a shower in the morning, you want to run and write it down real fast so you don't forget it. A lot of the best ideas come that way because they've been solved by your subconscious mind while you're asleep. Your subconscious mind is much more powerful than your conscious mind. It can handle numerous things simultaneously, whereas your conscious mind can really only focus on one thing in a serious way at a time. He says, the creative consequences of a man's imaginative strivings may never make him whole, but they constitute his deepest consolations. Okay, that's a little bit like the idea of journaling. Writing about whatever concerns you can help you to come to terms with it, to come to accept it, or to see the positive of it as well as the negative of it. But some things are just sad, and you just need time to go by. And it's also that sleep therapy guy Matthew Walker described sleep as being, emotional first aid. That again, your REM sleep integrates it with what you already know and tries to find a happier perspective on it to relieve at least some of your sadness, despair about it. Anthony Storr, the motive force which impels a man or woman to embark on the hazardous, often unrewarding task of trying to make coherence out of the external world or out of their own inner selves often originates from alienation and despair. Yeah, that's obviously true. Is when you're sad and you're frustrated is when you start to dig deep and study. And we talked about that before. Most of the greatest books they've written when the author was in exile or in prison or totally ostracized. Boethius, The Consolation of Philosophy, written while he was in prison to be executed by a barbarian king. Voltaire's, French Letters from England, okay, when he was exiled to England. John Locke was in exile when he wrote his great book. Dante was in exile when he wrote The Divine Comedy. Victor Hugo was in exile when he wrote Les Miserables, okay? Fyodor Dostoevsky was, in the firing line, in concentration camp in Siberia when he came up with the ideas for writing his magnificent books. That's all pretty typical, unfortunately. Shakespeare was a Catholic and he had to hide from the Protestants that would have bumped him off. That's why we know so little bit about him. Okay, next thing for Anthony Storr. He says, originality implies being bold enough to go beyond accepted norms. Yeah, if you want to do anything good, you have to go beyond accepted norms. Accepted norms means conventional, it means boring. So if you want to improve on it, you have to go beyond it. And if you go beyond it, a lot of people are going to get pissed off at you. So you have to have the guts and the confidence to do that. Okay, next, Leo Strauss, the philosopher. He lived from 1899 to 1973. And his first statement here is, he said, one cannot refute what one has not thoroughly understood. Yeah, so if you want to come to terms with something, you got to read it from a bunch of different perspectives so you can see the whole picture on it. We talked about that, like the 6 blind men and an elephant. One guy grabs the tail, says it's a rope, grabs the spear and says it's, grabs the tusk, says it's a spear, the side says it's a wall, the leg says it's a tree. And you have to look at all the perspectives before you can put it together and have that objective point of view, like Caspar David Friedrich's Wanderer above the sea fog painting, the Rückenflügel with his back towards you such that you're looking out down below from a hill, you're up above so you can see something in its totality. You have an objective perspective. Okay, Leo Strauss. A liberal arts education consists in reminding oneself of human excellence, of human greatness. Yeah, that's why you want to study the ancient Greeks. They're so magnificent. They're so superior to us in how smart they were that you're like, wow, if these people back, 2,500 years ago could do that, why can't I do something useful? Okay, Leo Strauss. Life is too short to read any but the best books. Yeah, so if you're reading a book, you can usually tell within the first 5 pages if the author's got anything interesting, original, or useful to say. So, read the prelims on Amazon, and if the book sucks, at the most, give it 10 pages. And if it's not good by 10 pages, it's never going to be good. Don't waste your time. Okay, Leo Strauss. It is absurd to expect members of philosophy departments to be philosophers, as it is to expect members of art departments to be artists. Yeah, you think about it. How many great philosophers are there? Okay, you look at Germany. Germany supposedly had good philosophers in the 1700s and 1800s. Most of their philosophers stink. Hegel stinks. Okay, Kant stinks. Schopenhauer's about 70% good and 30% crap. Goethe's about 40% good, 60% crap. Nietzsche's about 30% good, 70% crap. So, even the best that ever lived, that's just how it is. Don't get me wrong. The one I got the most value from was Schopenhauer. I learned a lot of good stuff from him. Anyways, that's it for Leo Strauss. Hope you found that helpful.